Hi, good afternoon, good evening, or even good morning. Robin here again. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining me on this channel. I get asked a lot about the Portuguese Golden Visa in terms of the difference between the fund investment route and the capital injection route. So without further ado, let's dig in and I'm going to run through that and the pros and cons of both in the next 4 or 5 minutes. So first of all, a bit of a recap. What is the capital that's required for the Golden Visa? So it's 500,000 euros in a regulated investment fund, 500,000 donation to the kind of scientific and research, which isn't terribly popular, and 500,000 into business development or job creation. Now we can call that the capital injection route. Finally, there is a donation route as well, which is at 2D. Once again, that's not particularly popular. So a little note here as well, right at the beginning, is that some of the different investments provide an upfront compensation, which reduces the capital required, typically down to 399. Also, there's a fully funded route as well at 168, so that's really popular and it compares very favorably with the donation route. It's obviously a lot less. So a quick recap on who can apply. Kids under the age of 18, that's no problem at the time of investment, even if they're up to the age of 25, as long as they can justify that they're in full-time education and they're dependent on the main investor. Obviously spouses, even partners that are not married, as long as you can prove that you've been living together for 2 years or more. So that's typically, joint tenancy contracts, joint bank accounts, things like that. Parents over the age of 65, they don't need to prove dependency, so no financial information is needed. And you can add your parents if they're dependent on you down to the age of 55. And obviously you can't have a criminal record. There is a criminal record check. You must adhere to that. Okay, so what about the benefits? Well, you can reside in Portugal any length of time, no visa restrictions. You've got no 90-day rule if you're coming from certain countries like the UK. There's no need to be a tax resident as well, so that's really important to some people. So you can maintain your tax residency in another country and just trip in and out of Portugal absolutely as you please, as long as you don't break the 100-day rule. Of course, it helps with family reunification, so if you're in different countries or you've got different passports, different rights, Portugal on the Golden Visa can bring everybody together for that. And there are some tax benefits as well. So if you do decide to reside in Portugal, the new NHR 2.0 is the incentivized tax regime. That's really attractive, and I can give you further details on that. Good access to healthcare. So once you get your residency card, and same with education. So if you've got children, perhaps you want to send into school in the country. Finally, once you become a citizen, you can live, work, and retire anywhere within the European Union. So a little bit about regulated funds versus the capital injection route. So let's talk first of all about regulated funds. Who are they regulated by? Well, the C, which is the Portuguese regulator, they'll have a reference code on there, and you can go online and check that out at any time. They typically have an entry fee to go into the fund, and 60% of that fund to qualify must be invested in Portuguese companies. They've got good high potential returns because these are venture capital funds. Now, of course, that's not guaranteed, but it is there as a potential. They've usually got good track records. They've done this time and time again, and they typically have what we call a performance fee. So you don't necessarily see that, but the growth on the fund, once it goes above a certain rate, typically they will keep 20% of that, and that's effectively usually how the partners get paid. More on that later on. They are obviously a good long-term investment option. So even if they're not being used for a golden visa, it's potentially a good way to gain some good returns and exposure to the growth in the European Union particularly. They've got a variety of focuses. I've listed three there. Agribusiness, so anything from farming, winemaking, and the technology that's going with that to improve yields. Technology per se, and we're all aware of where that's taking us with AI and all the rest of it, and the implications of that. And also funds around, for example, green energy. And green energy also encapsulates some parts of the agribusiness as well. So getting better crop yields using ponics and things like that. But obviously the old green energy revolves around a lot to do with solar and wind farms. So what about the capital injection route? So again, this is a quick generic summary, but generally it's hospitality focused. There's no entry fee. It tends to be quite large developers for obvious reasons. People with track records that have done this 10, 15, 20 times. The typical kind of investment yield is lower because you're going in at 399, but you are getting a return when you cash out in 6 years of 500. So you typically get about a 20% return. And that is the buyback from the developer. So they, again, typically give you a guarantee that they will buy that shareholding back from you in 6 years' time. They've got track records of previous developments. I kind of mentioned that before, but most of them have got these things that have been executed over the last kind of decade or so. There's no client involvement, so you don't have to get involved or worry about the business per se. And some give an apartment or a room as collateral. So you'll see what's called a promissory contract. So if you don't want to take the 500,000, you can take some of the assets that have been guaranteed. And of course, then you could, perhaps rent those out or live in yourself for a short period of time. I mean, they're not homes, they are businesses. So what about us? Why Holborn Assets, Holborn Pass? That's our division for global mobility solutions. And why me? Well, first of all, we're the largest agent globally for Portugal. We've got a large investment choice of funds and capital in the injection route. We've got a dedicated team for golden visas. Did about 300 applications last year. I'm a chartered financial planner. I deal a lot with kind of cross-border tax planning and investment. So it's the investment that comes first. Right money, right place, right time. And we're a fairly large company. We've got 20,000 clients. We actually manage about $2.5 billion worth of client funds and offices all over the world. Really short, but if you want to get in contact with me, that's what you need to do. You can book a meeting using the QR code, take a picture with your camera. It should come up with the URL. There's my phone number there as well, and my email ID. If you're watching this on YouTube, that'll be down in the comments section, and there's a link there to my diary as well. Okay, thanks very much. You have a great day. Take